Hello students. So students, today we are going to start with the very first practical of your biology syllabus. And the name of this practical is Study of Plant Family Solanaceae. So basically in this particular practical, we are going to study about the characteristics of plant family Solanaceae. So now let us see what is the aim of this practical. The aim is to identify the family of the given plant material with its distinguishing characters and the floral formula. And the procedure for this is to take a plant material, observe the vegetative and the reproductive characters. So basically we are going to study about the vegetative and the reproductive characters of the given plant material. And on the basis of this vegetative and reproductive characters, we are going to determine the floral formula of that particular plant. So before we move to the actual part of this practical, we first need to learn certain terminologies that are used as a distinguishing character of any plant material. So if you see this chart over here, these are certain terminologies that we are going to learn first. So let us take them one by one. The first one is bracteate. Now for this you have to see this picture. You can see these small green color structures over here. As a whole, these small structures are called the epicalyx. Why epicalyx? Because they are just present beneath the calyx, or you can say just besides the calyx. So these are the epicalyx. And if you consider them individually, they are called the bracts. So there are some flowers which are with these bracts, and there are some flowers without the bracts. So if the flower is possessing the bracts, it is called a bracteate flower or a bracteolate flower. And if it is without the bracts, it is called ebracteate flower or ebracteolate flower. Now, the alphabet that is denoted for bracteate is BR, capital B and small r. And for ebracteate, it is EBR, where E is going to be capital and BR is going to be small. So this is the first character. Coming to the next character. There are some flowers which are unisexual and there are some flowers which are bisexual. So if a plant or a flower is unisexual and it shows only the staminate flower, that means only the male reproductive organ or the androecium, the symbol is being denoted as this. This is the symbol for a male flower. And if the flower is showing only the carpellate part or the pistil, that is the gynoecium, the stigma, style and the ovary, that means it is a unisexual flower and it is a female flower. So the symbol that is denoted for a female flower is this. And on the other hand, if the flower is bisexual, that means it is showing both the staminate and the carpellate part, then the symbol that is denoted for a bisexual flower is this. Okay, so I hope you all understood these two characters. Coming to the next character, we have to see if the flower is actinomorphic or if it is zygomorphic. Now, if you see this, if the flower is showing a radial symmetry like this, it is an actinomorphic flower. And if it is dissymmetrical, it is known as a zygomorphic flower. So if the flower is showing a radial symmetry and it is actinomorphic, the symbol is this. And if it is showing dissymmetry, it is zygomorphic, then the symbol that is denoted is a percentage sign. Okay, coming to the next character, that is epicalyx. So epicalyx, I have already told you all, the bracts or the bracteoles, a bunch of bracts or the bracteoles, it is called as epicalyx. And epicalyx is simply written as EP, where E is capital and P is small. Okay, coming to the next character, that is the calyx or the sepals. So the green structure that you can see over here, this picture, the green structure, these are called the calyx. Okay. Now calyx is being denoted by a letter K. Okay. And now, if it is a polysepalous condition, that means if the calyx are free, then you just write an alphabet K. What is a polysepalous condition? If you see this rose plant, a rose flower over here, the calyx are free from each other. Correct? They are not united. They are free from each other. It is a polysepalous condition. So over here, you just write a letter K. And if the calyx is united, like in this flower, all the calyx are united, so it is a gamosepalous condition. So what do? You write a K with a bracket. The bracket denotes that the calyx are fused or they are united to each other. Okay, coming to the next word, that is the corolla. Now same goes with the corolla, but corolla is being denoted by an alphabet C. Okay, so please remember, calyx is denoted by an alphabet K and corolla is denoted by an alphabet C. Now, if the corollas are free from each other, like in this flower, it is a polypetalous condition, then you just write alphabet C. And if they are united to each other, like you can see in this particular flower, it is a gamopetalous condition, then you write a C with a bracket where the bracket denotes that the corollas are fused or they are united to each other. Then there is one more type of corolla that is found. So for that you have to see this picture. Cruciform corolla. Now over here there are 4 petals, 4 corollas, and all the 4 are arranged in a manner that it shows an X shape. That means it is a crisscross shape opposite to each other. Such type of corolla are called the cruciform corolla. And the alphabet that is denoted for this is CX, where C will be capital and X is going to be small. Coming to the next character, perianth. What is a perianth? Now usually the flower that you see is with the calyx and the corolla. You can actually distinguish between the calyx and the corolla. But there are some flowers where the calyx and the corollas are not resolved, they are not distinguished. And such structures are called the perianth. If you can see this picture, here you can see a distinct calyx and the corolla. But here you cannot distinguish between the calyx and the corolla. So such structure is called a perianth. And perianth is being denoted with an alphabet P. Okay, I hope you understood this. Perianth is being denoted by an alphabet P. Now one more thing I want to tell you all is, calyx are said to be sepals. Okay, corollas are said to be petals and the perianth are said to be tepals. Okay, when the calyx and the corollas are not distinguished, they are called the tepals. Okay, coming to the next whorl, the reproductive whorl, that is the androecium, a male reproductive organ of a flower. Now androecium is being denoted by an alphabet A. And if the androecium is free from each other, as you can see over here in this picture, all the stamens, all the androeciums are free from each other, you just simply write an alphabet A. But if the androeciums are united, as you can see over here, the androeciums are united with one tube, you write alphabet A with a bracket. So this denotes that the androeciums are united. Now, what is epiphyllous condition? Sometimes the androeciums are united with the perianth. Such case is called epiphyllous condition. And how do you write it? You write P and A and you put an arrow heading towards P. As you can see over here in this particular picture, in this particular chart. So this is epiphyllous condition. And if the androecium is united with the corolla, okay, with the petals. Then you simply write C and A, and you put again, and you draw an arrow which is heading towards C. That denotes that androecium is fused to the corolla. Coming to the next word, the gynoecium, the female reproductive part of the flower. Gynoecium is being denoted by alphabet G. And if the gynoecium is free, it is just simply written as alphabet G. And if the gynoecium is united, G is written with a bracket. That shows that the gynoeciums are united to each other. Now, if the ovary of the gynoecium is superior, so as you can see over here in this picture, a hypogynous flower, that means the ovary is superior and all the other whorls are arising from beneath the ovary. Now, how do you write it as a symbol? You write G and you put a dash beneath the alphabet G. And if the ovary is inferior, like in this case, epigynous flower, where you see that the ovary is inferior and all the other whorls are arising from above the ovary, this is an inferior ovary. And how do you write it in a symbol form? You write G and the dash is put just above the alphabet G. And then there is one more case that is called as the gynostagium case. In gynostagium, what actually happens is the androecium and the gynoecium, they are fused to each other. You cannot differentiate between the androecium and the gynoecium. So it is called a gynostagium case. Now over here, what do? You write G and A, that is gynoecium and androecium, and you show this curved bridge between the two. This shows that the androecium and the gynoecium are fused to each other. Okay, so these are certain terminologies that we use for writing the distinguishing characters of certain plant material in a floral formula. Okay, now let us move to the plant material that we are studying for this experiment. So this family that we are studying is Solanaceae. This Solanaceae family is also called a potato family. That means the potato plant, it comes under this family. Other than this, there is brinjal, tomato. They also come in the same family, Solanaceae. Now the example that they have given us to study this particular family is Datura alba, the Datura plant. Okay. Now first thing that we need to study is the classification of Datura alba. The division will be Spermatophyta because it is a seed bearing plant. Subdivision is going to be Angiospermae. Why Angiospermae? Because the ovules, they are enclosed within the ovary. Class is Dicotyledone. That means there are two cotyledons. The leaves will show reticulate venation and the roots are taproot system. Okay. Subclass will be Gamopetalae, where the petals are fused. Series is going to be bicarpellate. That means the ovary is made up of, or the ovaries are of two carpels. They are with two carpels. Order will be Polynomials or Sonales, and the family is going to be Solanaceae. Genus is Datura and species is Alba. Now after the classification, let us study the vegetative characteristics of this plant. First, we write the habit. The habit of this plant is that it is an annual herb. It is considered to be a herb plant and it is considered to be an annual herb plant. If we speak about the root shows taproot system, where there is a primary root that arises into secondary, tertiary and quaternary root. Okay, so I hope you know the difference between a taproot system and the adventitious root system. Adventitious is when the roots are fibrous. Taproot is when the roots are differentiated into a primary root, a secondary root, tertiary and then the quaternary root. Coming to the stem, see this picture over here. The stem, they are herbaceous, they are erect and strong, cylindrical and solid. Okay. Leaves are simple, they are simple leaves, alternate to each other. They arise alternate to each other. So if you can see, one leaf is arising from this side, the other is arising from this side. One again is arising from this side and the other one is from this side. They are all opposite to each other, alternate to each other. They are ex-stipulate, that means the leaves are not having any kind of stipules. And they show reticulate venation. What is a reticulate venation? If you see this venation, where you see a primary venation from which the secondary venation is arising and from which a tertiary venation is arising, this is called a reticulate venation, which is seen as a vegetative character of Datura alba. So these are the vegetative characters of this particular plant. Moving on to the reproductive or the floral characters. The first thing that we start with is the inflorescence. So the inflorescence is solitary, axillary and cymose. So if you see this, it is solitary, that is it arises individually. It is axillary in position and it is cymose. Cymose means the older flowers are at the top. The flower is complete. How do you call a flower complete? When the flower shows both petals, sepals, androecium and gynoecium. It is a complete flower. So the flower is complete. It is actinomorphic. That means if you see this, it shows a radial symmetry. So it is actinomorphic. It is bisexual. That means it is showing both the staminate and the carpellate part. It is hermaphrodite. It is bisexual. It is shortly pedicellate. What do you mean by a pedicellate flower? So if you see this flower, it is attached to the main axis with the help of this small stalk, with the help of this small pedicel. So this is a pedicel, and so we call this flower as a pedicellate flower. And it is hypogynous. Why do we call it hypogynous? As I told you previously also when we were studying the characteristics, hypogynous is when the ovary is superior. So for that you can see this picture. This is the ovary and the ovary is superior, where all the whorls, all the petals and the sepals, they are arising from beneath the ovary. Okay, so it is a hypogynous flower. Coming to the whorl, calyx. Calyx are having 5 sepals. So here, if you see this picture, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 of them are here and the last one is on the back side. So there are 5 sepals. Gamosepalous. Why do you call it gamosepalous? Because all of them are fused to each other. So it is a gamosepalous condition. Persistent. What do you mean by a persistent calyx? Persistent calyx means that even if the flower is shed off, okay, and after the flowering part, what happens is the fruiting. So the calyx is seen with the fruit as well. I'll be showing you in the next picture, in the next slide, what do you mean by a persistent calyx. So if this is the fruit will be attached with the calyx. Okay, so that is what is a persistent calyx. Corolla. Corolla are petals. There are 5 petals. Gamopetalis. Now if you see this, you can count 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. There are 5 petals. All the petals are fused to each other. So the condition is gamopetalis. Infundibuliform corolla. What do you mean by an infundibuliform corolla? It means they are this funnel shaped. Okay, a trumpet shape or a funnel shape, having sharp pointed teeth. So at the terminal end, it is having pointed teeth. As you can see in this picture as well, the corolla is having a pointed teeth. And it shows valvate aestivation. Now what do you mean by a valvate aestivation? Valvate aestivation means that all the corollas, all the petals are arranged in one plane. Okay, where they are just arranged in one plane and none of them are overlapping each other. So it shows a valvate aestivation. Coming to androecium, there are 5 stamens. So here you can count it in this picture. 1, 2, 3, 4 and the 5th one. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So 5 stamens. Epipetalis. What do you mean by epipetalis? Epipetalis means the androecium or the stamens are fused with the petals. So if you can see this picture, these are the 5 stamens, the androeciums, and they are all fused with the corolla. As they arise downwards, they are fusing with the corolla. So it is an epipetalis condition. Coming to gynoecium, there are 2 carpels. So for that you can see this picture. There are 2 carpels, 1 and 2. So it is bicarpellary. Syncarpus. The carpels are not individual. They are fused to each other. Ovary is superior. That you can see in this picture. The ovary is superior. Tetralocular. Now what do you mean by tetralocular? There are 2 carpels divided into 4 locules. So if you see this picture, 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 locules. 2 locules in 1 carpel. So bicarpellary tetralocular structure. Showing axile placentation. That means the ovules are arranged from the center. Okay, they are attached to the center. They are not attached to the periphery. Can you see this? All the ovules inside, there are many ovules, and all the ovules are attached at the center and not at the periphery. So this is axile placentation, where there are many ovules. And the stigma is bilobed. Now what do you mean by a bilobed stigma? If you can see this picture over here, you can see 2 lobes. Correct? This is a stigma which is showing 1 and the 2nd lobe. So this is a bilobed stigma. Fruits are capsule. This type of fruit is called a capsule fruit. And the seeds are numerous. So as you can see, there are numerous number of seeds, endospermic dicotyledonous. Okay. So this was about the floral characters of the plant. So students, here we have studied the vegetative characters and the floral characters of this given plant material. Now let us see some distinguishing characteristics of this family. The first thing is that the aerial part of the plant is hairy. So if you can see this picture, you can see minute hair on the stem of this particular plant. So the aerial plant is hairy. Next, the leaves are alternate to each other. So that we have already seen over here, that the leaves are alternate to each other. Tubular corolla. The corolla is tubular. It is this infundibuliform corolla, trumpet shaped corolla. And persistent calyx. Yes. What do you mean by a persistent calyx? As you can see, here the fruit is arising when the flower is shed off. And as the fruit is arising, the corolla is still the calyx is still persistent at its position. Okay, this is a persistent calyx. The stamens are polyandrous and epipetalis. I have already explained to you epipetalis. What is epipetalis? When it is arranged or when it is attached to the petals. Gynoecium is bicarpellary, so 2 carpels, and syncarpus. Both the carpels are fused. Ovary is superior, that you can see over here, and placed obliquely. It is obliquely placed. Placenta is swollen and obliquely placed above the ovary. So the placenta is swollen, obliquely placed above the ovary. And the placentation is axile. I have already told you what do you mean by an axile placentation. All the ovules are arranged and they are attached from the center and not from the periphery. This is what is axile placentation, when the ovules are attached from the center. The fruit is either berry or capsule. So in case of Datura, the fruit is capsule. Okay. So students, these are the certain characteristics of the family Solanaceae. So with this, we end with the first practical, and in the next video, we'll be starting with the second practical.